So today it was announced that Liam Hendriks won Comeback Player of the Year. It was voted on by the players and by the BWAA, and so he went and we've got got a little slide there from MLB today. So that was really nice to see. You know, Obviously the results this year not exactly stellar. I mean, he only made a few appearances, and obviously it appeared like his stuff was gone. At least to a certain point, to a certain degree, and lost some miles an hour off his fastball. His command was a little bit wonky, as you would think would happen, being out of game shape, and going through the chemo and everything. Um, but
Yeah, the fact that he endured all of that and was able to make his way back as quickly as he did, which, may have contributed to his injury. Although his injury, like we've said many times in the past, has been one that's been lingering for years. But, you got to give it to the guy for just going through everything that he went through and the toll that it takes on the body and being able to come back and at least throw the handful of innings that he did. Kudos to him. Unfortunately, uh, currently no longer part of the White Sox organization, but who's to say? Maybe he makes a return someday. But honestly, I just hope to see him play baseball again.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm
Getting a
at.
little long in the tooth, but still love to see the guy come back and really show that adversity that he's seen this season and kick it in the booty and get back to playing baseball.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, I agree. It's unfortunate the way everything happened, but he grinded through the treatment and came out the other side and got his clear diagnosis, and he started pitching again. And unfortunately, that torn UCL that he had had for ages ended up catching up with him, and going from not being in game shape to trying to be into playoff, not necessarily playoff race, but how he is. He operates at 0 to 100. He's either not pitching or he's going hard.
Yeah, you
And
don't say.
yeah, and unfortunately, it just kind of shredded that UCL and had his surgery, and now he's walking around like a cyborg for a little while, and we'll see where he pops up coming this year. I kind of don't, like you said, I don't think it will be with the White Sox at this point in time. Just like we talked about Aaron Bummer last week when he got shipped off to Atlanta, I just kind of don't see what you know, what the point of having Liam here next year, in 2024 really, what purpose it holds. I mean, it's not going to be. You already let him walk, so you're going to be paying him $1.5 million a year for the next 10 years.
Right.
So you're not going to, turn around and re-sign him unless they figure out some way to restructure a deal. And I don't know. I just don't see that happening. I kind of think we have seen the last of him, and you know,
No, you're
happy that
probably right.
yeah. I mean, I'm happy that we had him for a while, and you know, hopefully we see him again, and he returns to what he was before this whole 2023 season, because that was a
Yeah.
terrible year for him.
Yeah. Whether or not it's with the White Sox, I just want to see the guy the title says, come back. I'd like to see him come back and just play baseball again. And that it's a tough situation. The timing, I guess, for the UCL injury probably couldn't have been better for him, honestly.
Yeah,
If you just kind of take everything into consideration and think, well, this White Sox team really probably wasn't going anywhere, regardless if they had, one of the top closers in the game.
no,
Unfortunately, you
exactly.
have to score. You have to score runs to have a lead to get a closer into the game with a save opportunity, and that was not the case for this White Sox team this past season. So, you know, if you're gonna have that type of injury, that was probably the time.
Yeah,
So let's just hope that, like we've been saying, that he gets it all back together and he is somewhere at least close to the form that he has become synonymous with when you talk about top closers in the game.
Yep, for sure. Um, Next on the list of things that happened today, so it was made official that Paul DeJong is a member of the Chicago White Sox, and Bob Nightingale tweeted out his contract information. Um, People are mostly happy from what I've seen. You know that the monetarily the contract is not a whole lot, and there is a little bit of incentives on there. You see, for those of you not watching on the stream, he is getting a base salary of $1.75 million for 2024, with bonuses of $150,000 for 400 plate appearances, and an additional $100,000 if he makes it to 500 plate appearances. I would not be shocked in the least bit if he doesn't make either of those bonus points. What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
I wouldn't be shocked either. When the news first came out a few days back that Paul DeJong was going to be a member of the White Sox, before we had any inkling of what the financials were going to be on it, there were a lot of folks that were unhappy. Obviously, Tim Anderson being who he is and what he's been to the organization as pretty much the face of the organization the last, you know, 5-6 years here. The amount of ire that was kind of thrown around out there when you find out that this is the guy that the White Sox are signing to replace him. Uh, I gotta say, that whole thing is I don't want to be a told you so kind of guy, but if you've been paying attention at all, you kind of almost had to expect this. This is pretty much exactly what I was expecting from the White Sox when you are trying to save money by not signing Tim Anderson and giving him a $1 million buyout. You're not going to go out and spend a bunch of money on that position. And there really wasn't a whole lot on the free agent market to begin with at the shortstop position. So honestly, if you look at these numbers now and what Paul DeJong is getting paid, I mean, there are arbitration guys who are getting a whole heck of a lot more than this kind of money. So, you're going to get better defensively, which is what, the direction of this offseason has been for the whole, right? So if you've been paying attention to that, this is exactly the kind of signing I expected. And it also leaves you the opportunity to go ahead and bring in some of those prospects that we've been talking about. Because if Paul DeJong doesn't play enough innings to get anywhere close to that 400 or 500 plate appearances, it's no harm, no foul because he's not making a ton of money and he's not really holding anybody back from playing. So
Yeah,
that's kind of my general take on that. I mean, obviously we can dive a little bit deeper into the numbers and we can talk about, where he was a few years ago as opposed to where he is now and regression and this, that, and the other thing. But, obviously I think this is just the type of move that it it, it kind of signals exactly what we've been thinking is going to happen with this offseason. The White Sox are not going to be good next year. And you're probably not going to get a lot of
what do
great
you mean?
pitching. You're not going to get a lot of great pitching. So how do you help those pitchers? You put a pretty good defensive team behind them and hope that they can win some games.
Yeah.
What do you think, man? What is your take on this whole thing?
I mean, pretty much what you said. I don't. We've seen what his offensive numbers are. They're not impressive. He does have some power, which is nice. He'll run into some, which is good. And I mean, I think he hit like 15 times what Tim Anderson hit last year for home runs. So there's that. Uh, you
Well,
know,
you want to be a comedian now, huh?
I mean, I'm just saying. But I mean, like, and the defense is good. Like the thing that you don't really have to worry about is him going out and embarrassing the White Sox, by throwing the ball into the stands,
Right.
5-6 times in a year, and you know, making high teens of errors. Like you just
Right,
you
right.
don't have to worry about that so much. And we'll get into it in a little bit about what this is going to mean defensively for the White Sox and what it's going to mean, I think, for the I kind of want to bounce this around with you, like what you think this is going to, what kind of changes you think this is going to make, whether some of these guys are going to see playing time, who's going to be here, who's not. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
Absolutely. I
But
am actually looking forward to getting into that conversation.
yeah, we just got, it's a free agent signing. It's nothing even remotely exciting, but, here we are. And, people had been throwing around that it was possible that Paul DeJong, however, I have never even really put the effort in to find out how to pronounce his name because it didn't really matter. I thought it was DeJong, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. At least
we
in
will
spring
at
training.
some point.
And
and to be honest with you, I've actually heard like 3 or 4 different ways to pronounce his name, and I couldn't tell you which one is right. So,
exactly.
pardon me. We might. You say we're going to find out, but we might hear 3 or 4 different pronunciations throughout the course of the season. So, it's not like the guy is fresh to the game. He's been around a few years, and people are still pronouncing it different ways. So I don't know if we'll ever get a real answer on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Jason Benetti was here, I don't know if you remember when Luis Robert came up, but he put out a tweet that expressly told people this is how you say his last name. If he was
Jason
still here,
would have done that.
we would know for sure. But I digress.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Hope he has fun in Detroit with his new friend Kenta Maeda. Also today, and this is big news. This will get you real excited. Today is Pedro Grifal's birthday.
Oh, he's a Sag. Just like me.
Yeah.
Just like me. Yeah, speaking of, I didn't realize, but exactly 1 week today will be my 48th birthday.
Very nice. So, hey.
Yeah.
Keep clicking them off.
Yeah, just another turn of the calendar. Is it spring yet?
Brenda asks, is it spring yet? No, it is not, unfortunately. And we're going to be doing this whole thing where we're doing the dance about signing people that are literally of almost no consequence. We're probably going to be talking about this pretty often for the next, 2.5 months. Until things come up
I gotta
here,
be honest with you. After getting our first taste of snow this season, I really, really, really do wish it was spring. I mean, that you can keep that white stuff, man.
Ugh, I'm so done.
I lived in Florida for about 6 years in my late teens and early 20s, right after high school. And Christmases, I gotta say, after growing up here in the Midwest in Chicago, spending my whole life here, Christmases down in South Georgia, was more like the part of Florida that I lived in. But, it was just different, man. 75, 80 degrees on Christmas Day. You see all the kids out there riding their new bikes and go-karts and whatever, scooters and whatever else they got their hands on that Christmas. But never thought I would make it,
Oh,
huh?
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were both running late today. I was sitting here chopping up stuff, and you're running late on the way from work. But here we are.
Oh, here we are. We did. We made it. We're good. But yeah, well, I think Mark's referring to my 48th birthday.
Oh,
coming up here.
If you would make it there, yeah, well.
Yeah, and that SOB is got a few years on me, but me and him would have a discussion about that off stream. I'm sure. He's also got a birthday right around this time of year, so we'll discuss the number of years that he has on me, which are more than a few, by the way.
Really?
Point out since you're going to throw it out there at me like
that. So here we are. We're wishing Pedro Grifal another year of Wonderful life. Hopefully things work out better this year than last, because I know last year had to be ridiculously frustrating. Um, and you say what you want about his skill level as a manager, but we'll find out whether or not last year's fiasco is indicative of what we can expect from him in the future. Let's hope not, because that was real ugly. Um, let's hope things improve. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. What else can you hope for at this particular moment, honestly?
Yeah, exactly. Just gotta try and stay positive about it and hope that last year was just a bunch of circumstances that all just kind of ran into each other, and that's it. You know? Yes. Yeah. Mark says at least expectations aren't high. You aren't kidding.
Oh, I mean, what a swing. When you say it like that, though, what a swing. This time last year, 12 months ago, we were saying, you know what? Maybe things will be different. The Sox are going to be bringing in a new manager, a new pair of eyes, maybe some new coaching staff, some new philosophies. Boy, were we wrong. I mean, that, we hadn't reached the pinnacle of the downslope at this point yet. We had no clue what we were in for.
Yeah. I
Or did
mean,
we? We weren't exactly thrilled by some of those hires, were we?
to think that the high point was more or less a good game in Oakland and in a playoff series, and then uh, one home winning, one home winner playoff game where Larry Garcia was a huge part of. Those are the high points,
Of
other
that whole
than like
rebuild.
other than a couple of like little, personal achievements for some of the players, which at this point most of them aren't even around anymore. You know?
No, I mean, and you can go back to last season, the opening series against the Stros, 4 game set, and the White Sox split. They finished that series 2-2, and that was the high point of the entire 2023 season. Ouch.
Yeah. Sox peaked in Iowa. Well, that's another way. That was about it. It's like that was like the last hurrah. Timmy hit the home run in the corn game to win that game, and then after that, all downhill.
Oh man. It was a great game to watch though. I will
Oh, it was
say that.
amazing. I mean, I was screaming at my TV, walking around upstairs here, just walking back and forth in between rooms, getting angry as we were giving up runs, but then getting excited when we were scoring runs, and that was,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun.
I was actually at a racetrack preparing for a long weekend of racing with the team, and I will never forget finally getting set up that Thursday evening, that fateful Thursday night, and being able to catch the last couple innings of that game, and then watch good old TA7 best Aaron Judge to walk it off at the end of the game was just an incredible finish to the first of what looks like is going to be many games played in Iowa that way. So yeah, pretty fantastic stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I just gonna toss this out there, but they did do a study on some of the baseballs that were there, and oddly enough, they did have a little bit more juice in them, if you want to say, um,
Hmm.
which is
Couldn't imagine.
shocking, especially considering that the playoffs also have those little nice juicy baseballs, and oddly
And the
enough, when
Yankees had a
Aaron
bunch of
Judge,
those.
yeah, when Aaron Judge hit his 60+ home runs, also with the aid of special
An
baseballs.
extra handful of bouncy balls.
Ridiculous. um, all right, so you know whose birthday it was yesterday?
Yes.
Eloy Jimenez.
There he is.
Yeah, so I figured that this was a good time to ask
To
you,
oh
not only wish Eloy a happy birthday, as we know that he's listening right now.
yeah, happy birthday, Eloy.
Hopefully he's sitting in his sunning hat there, doing some nighttime gardening and
There you go.
listening to the show. We wish him a happy birthday.
Yeah, what's he got there? Is that a cup of scissor over there in
I
his
have
hand, man?
no
Got you
idea
some
what he's got
scissor.
there, but I'm sure it's something real nice. So question: Is Chris Getz going to trade Eloy Jimenez?
Let me think about this. Yes,
You think so?
I do. I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but I feel like Eloy is one of those guys that just he doesn't have a position on this team because he doesn't want to play DH and he wants to be a squeaky wheel and play the field. And this is not a team that is going to let somebody. And Eloy, if you are listening, I'm sorry, buddy, but until you prove me wrong, he's a butcher in the field.
Just like half of the team,
Well, yeah, and
Missouri,
maybe
show me state.
show me.
Just saying.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. Look, the guy is a lot of fun to watch when he's swinging it good, right? He likes to hit those monster dingers. I'll never forget his first couple when they were playing against the Yankees, and
Oh
Loy
yeah,
was
those are
this
fun.
young budding rookie, and he goes ahead and hits two against the Yankees, and way to break out, right? And everybody was like, "Here we go, thanks Cubs," that whole thing.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, unfortunately, he's not the defender that we were hoping he would develop into. We go back to the checking the boxes, checking the boxes, checking the boxes, the old Rick Hahn, lawyer speak.
yeah.
But there was some truth to that. Obviously he needed some help defensively in the outfield, and I just don't think there's a spot for him. As much as I would love to see him stay here, and I would love for him to embrace the DH role and do it well, like we saw the second half of last season. I just don't know that it's going to be beneficial for the White Sox to hold on to him. Like you say, this is not a team that's going to be uber competitive next season.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if he's going to be traded before the season starts. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Maybe they bring him back for the first half of the season and hope that he can find that form with some new hitting coaches and maybe hit a bunch of those monster dingers. But when that time comes, if that's the case, and he has a good first half, I think you got to take that value and turn it into something that's going to be part of the future team that they're hoping to build that is a competitor. What do you think?
Mark Orr says Seattle's expressed interest, but what's the return? And I mean, obviously, I would have to see the return to actually, you know, base an opinion on it. I mean, they do have some prospects that are, that people are talking about. So, I mean, it is entirely possible. I just like one of the things to think about when you think about Eloy. The issue is that he doesn't play full seasons. He gets hurt and spends, even if it's just a couple of weeks, when he goes on the IL for a couple of weeks, and then he's got a week rehab stint. Like that's almost a month gone, you know. And this
Right.
has happened throughout his entire career. There's just been one thing after another, whether it be a torn pec or some sort of hamstring injury or knee, or somebody steps on his foot when they're having a fist fight out on the field. I mean, it's always something, whether he's out there getting caught by the Gorton's fishermen out in left field. I mean, it's just always something with the guy, and he does have a very special bat. The guy can hit when he's not hitting ground balls all the time. But I mean, the guy he can crush a baseball and he can hit line drives, and he's a great hitter. And as far as bat to ball skill contact goes, he's phenomenal. But let's hope that Marcus Thames can impress upon him that he should stop trying to hit pitchers' pitches and should instead hit mistakes and hit pitches that are in his specific spot until there are 2 strikes. No first pitch swinging on low and outside sliders, and rolling over to third base.
Just because you can get a piece of the bat on it doesn't mean you have to.
Yeah.
Just because maybe part of that little white ball with the little red stripes on it comes through there and it catches just the slightest sliver of plate does not mean you've got to swing at it. You need to be able to put the good part of the wood on that ball. And, he is a special talent. And because of his special talent is what it allows him to be able to put some of those balls in play, right? He's able to get out in front of the hook before it hooks away from him or out of the zone. Sometimes
That's exactly.
But we've seen it often enough where he's not able to get out in front of that hook, or he's too far out in front of that hook, anticipating and trying. And then you end up twisted up and he's corkscrewed into the ground while the ball is in the catcher's mitt. And he's looking kind of stupid. And again, I hate to say bad things about the guy because when he's on, phenomenal player to watch, right? When you see those monster bombs go out, he's got those skyscrapers that just seem to hang up there forever, or the rocket that is out of the park in 1.2 seconds because it was a 115-mile-an-hour line drive. That stuff's fun, but when you're not going well, it's not fun. And we're just kind of hoping for something, anything that is going to provide the spark that he needs. And unfortunately, none of that's going to come from the field. It's going to come all on the bat side of his game. And like I said, I just feel like his spot on this team is going to be that of a DH. And if he doesn't find that consistency and he doesn't learn how to stay away from the pitcher's pitch, well, he really has no spot on this team. So, like I said, do I think they're going to trade him? Yes. Is it going to be before the season starts? I don't know. If the return is there, sure. If it's not, I think they're going to hope to build his value. And I still think he's gone by the trade deadline because, again, this all hinges on the White Sox not being in contention for anything next year. So what would be the point of holding on to a player of his caliber if you can get something in return that's going to help you build the future of this ball club when it is ready to contend? Right?
Yeah. I mean, just some food for thought is that he's getting paid $13 million this year, and then there are club options for 16 and a half and 18 and a half in 25 and 26. So he's still owed quite a bit of money. So if he does not put up offensive numbers or he gets hurt often, you're not getting any value.
Right.
Regardless of that, unless he has a great year this year and you cut bait with him right away, you're not going to be getting great value unless he puts up like absolutely monster numbers if you trade him at the deadline this year. I mean, if he puts up monster numbers, you might be able to get decent value, but because of how much money he's owed, I don't know that you're going to be able to get, a decent return at all. It's just that's the problem. And with how much you've invested in him, does it make sense to let him go when your other options at DH is Andrew Vaughn or a Gavin Sheets or somebody like that, where you're also, if Eloy plays 120 games and 100 of those games are when he's healthy, he will probably put up just as high of statistical numbers as those other two guys
Yeah,
over
160
100, a
games of
full
Andrew Vaughn.
162. Yeah, you know. So is it worth taking that risk? Possibly. I mean, if you don't, if you're looking to not have that extra money on the payroll, yeah, I mean it's worth it. But what kind of return can you expect? I have no idea. I really don't know. I'd be surprised if it was anything great.
If you're not looking to have that extra money on the payroll, have you spoken to Unky Jer? Do you
Well,
know something I don't?
I mean, we did save 12 million. Well, actually, I guess 11 million after the $1 million buyout on Tim's contract. So there is
Yeah,
that.
right.
So he has gotten some cash back. Um, but I guess technically, when you take all of the players that came back in the bummer trade and how that added $2.5 million of payroll, really, it's only now you're at 8.5 that you saved. So I mean, really, things are kind of you're still ahead. You're still in the black here on money that you've made
Yeah.
back. But
It's all about quantity, not quality.
yeah, we
Quantity.
need to sign a dozen players at $2 million each instead of spending $24 million on one good player. Um,
It is the way.
it is the way. All right, so next on that list, um, it has been said by an quote unquote insider that it is 90% certain amongst front office people that Dylan Cease is going to be traded here in the near future. So next week we have the winter meetings. Is he gone at the winter meetings? Is he gone before spring training, or is he a deadline deal? What do you think?
Uh it's that's a little bit more of a difficult question to answer. I almost would say I'd almost put my money on winter meetings, and reason being is that, well, maybe not. I'm going to back that train up a little bit. There are a handful of good pitchers on the market right now, right? Not a ton, but a handful. You've got the Tyler Glasnows, you got the Shane Biebers, you got a couple of guys that can be improvements to some rotations. I don't know that if it would be in Getz's and the White Sox best interest to be in a hurry to deal Dylan Cease, because as some of those other guys come off the board, now you're going to have that bidding war. And let's be honest, when it comes to pitching in the MLB, everybody needs it. There isn't a team out there that can say my rotation is perfect, right? So I would like to think that they would take their time and make sure they are getting the best package in return for him. But again, now saying that the things I've said, there are a lot of teams that are out there that want to get their hands on somebody who is the caliber of Dylan Cease in the hopes that they can return him to his form of 2021 and 2022 as opposed to 2023. Most specifically 2022, when you're in the top 3 in Cy Young votes, right? I think a lot of teams are probably assuming that that might be a glitch in his game in 2023, because he was playing for a White Sox team that was disinterested, or seemingly disinterested, and it being part of a dysfunctional family, right? So maybe there's teams that are just chomping at the bit. Again, it all is going to come down to return, but I think he's definitely gone long before spring training. I'll
Yeah,
say that.
I'm kind of in the same boat. If I mean, we have had this conversation that we were fairly certain that Jerry is not going to be forthcoming with enough cash to keep him around when his deal expires. And right now, You have 2 full years. If you trade him at the deadline, the other team's going to at least get 2 years of, 2 playoff runs, hopefully, for that team that acquires him. At least 2 playoff runs, which is obviously going to be much more valuable than 1 full year or 1 playoff run, right?
Right.
Uh, Mark says, I think he will be a Brave by spring training. And I would not be surprised. That to me seems like I mean, I don't know if it'll be the
It's a pretty good
Braves.
landing spot.
It's and it's amazing for him because it's home. Like he's an
Right.
Atlanta boy, so if he gets home, great for him. Just the only thing that kind of worried, like I've kind of had my heart set on getting some of my hands on some of those Orioles prospects,
Oh,
and
no kidding.
you know, I mean, I do watch a fair amount of minor league baseball, and I've seen what those kids can do, and I am intrigued by quite a few of their top 15, 20 prospects. Like a bunch of those guys can do some stuff, and I would love to, if we're gonna move him, I don't want it to be for like one very good prospect from the Braves and then a couple of guys that are like I'd rather hopefully get a couple of the top 20 from the Orioles, you know hopefully top a couple of top 10 guys would be my personal hope. I've
Right.
got quite a few of those guys that I like. So, but yeah, I mean, and like the thing to think about, like as far as I've thought about the Orioles is that they don't like to spend money either. You know,
They do not.
and so with his 2 years, where he's ARB 3 and 4, is it estimated at 8.3 and 12.3. So you're looking at roughly like $20.5 million for 2 years of I don't necessarily guess I would say he's an ace because he does run into consistency issues. Last year he was in 2022 rather very good, and for the most part was real close to being an ace. But the issue is 2023 and 2021 where the walks go up and the innings aren't aren't there. And that's the issue for me.
Well, and the thing is 2021, we saw flashes of 2022, right? We saw the possibility of him taking that next step going into 22. And boy, did he. He took that step. He took a jump. He took a leap, right? The regression in 23 felt different than 2021 did to me. It felt like something was missing. It felt much like the way the White Sox, and as a whole, if we take Dylan Cease and we look at him in a microcosm, his game felt like he was still there, but he just couldn't find it. You know what I mean? Like it was in there, you couldn't find it. 2021 was like it was in there, and we're trying to bring it out of you. 2023 was like it's there, and you just don't seem to have the interest to bring it out of you. Like and you can go through the motions, you can listen to these interviews. And those interviews that he was given last year sounded a lot like Lucas Giolito's interviews from a couple years before, where he was like, I knew where I was and I had to make some changes. I just got to fight through it. And I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing wrong and I'm working on it. We heard a lot of that from a lot of White Sox players and a lot of White Sox pitchers over the years. But Dylan just seemed to be, I feel like it was a team thing for him. It's just a bad environment. We've heard whispers of shortages in coaching staff on both the minor league and major league level. Maybe you're not getting the attention you once got in the past, and now things just don't feel right. And when that happens, it's hard to get going again. So I think, if he's kind of out there, obviously he is out there. He's on a lot of teams he's on the tip of their tongue, right? Everybody's talking about him. I think if the White Sox sell it that way, if Chris Getz comes in and says, you know what, I am the new regime, and things were bad here, but we can't use him. But we promise he's that guy, and you got this coaching staff that's that's better staffed, more well staffed than ours is. You can probably fix them, but you can't give them up for nothing, right? So I don't know. Like I said, the comparison between 21 and 23 just not the same to me.
That's what I'm saying. Is that's the thing that I think is going to dictate what you're going to get back is who that team thinks they're getting.
Right.
And I don't know.
We're going to see what kind of salesman Getz can be, for sure. Obviously, we felt pretty good about the first trade he made, bringing the 5-for-1 for Bummer. Nothing really to write home about, but the fact that you were able to get what you got is impressive for your first move as a GM. Let's see what kind of sales trade, what kind of salesman skills he's got when you do have a piece to sell off.
Yep. I mean, a couple of those guys were probably going to be, roster cuts anyway on the roster for the Braves, but the White Sox didn't have to try and sign him out from under anybody else, so that helps them. And if they get a good year out of Soroka and Jared Schuster ends up being something, or and Nicky Lopez can do something for you, whether that be in a utility role or starting at second base or whatever, we'll see.
Braden Shoemake can come up and maybe swipe a couple bags for you or something. And who knows?
Yep. All right. Well, so say that Dylan Cease does go. There is going to be essentially one piece of the future in that starting rotation. Where does that leave our friend Michael Kopech?
Oh, you're asking me this seriously?
Yeah, I mean, do you see him as a starter? Because a lot of people are saying that they think that he's going to be a reliever, and to me, I don't think putting a guy who struggles,
especially
from the get-go,
who struggles in the first inning. His worst innings are often the first inning. How do you train your mind from going from starter to reliever, from being highly touted as a prospect and being the hype, and just to remind you, I remember going to the first game that he started, and he unfortunately only got two innings pitched because of a rain delay.
Yeah, that was.
But yeah, it was a bit disappointing for him and everybody that was in attendance to see him pitch that game at home. But you have to go through this whole mental his durability helps. Yeah. But his mental his how do I put this? His mental makeup to be able to have to go from such a highly touted prospect and such an anticipated start to a career on the south side when everybody and their brother was holding their breath for this new era and this new window of competitiveness, and everything was supposed to be coming together right around this time was this guy was starting his career. And you go from that to kind of dealing with the injuries and then coming back from the injuries and not being the same guy, and then last season having the worst season of your career and giving up dinger after dinger. And it all started on opening day. People were like, what is this guy doing? This is our opening day starter, and he gives us 7 home runs like he was throwing batting practice.
Home opener.
Sorry, home opener.
Just saying.
It's
not the opener. It's the
Right,
home
he was
opener.
the home opener, right?
Yeah.
But he was the starting pitcher at the White Sox opener. And like I said, it looked like he was giving up batting practice. I think I got up to go to the bathroom. I was gone for not that long, and he gave up like four in the
It
fourth
was
inning or
yeah, it
something,
was
and
so
it was
painful.
rough. It was brutal. And you go through all that as Michael Kopech, and now you have to find the mental toughness to give up your hopes of being a starter and to be thrown in a bullpen situation and have much less time to prepare because you never know when you're going to get called to come into a game,
Yeah.
and you just got to go out there and be ready to fire and get a hold or you know a save if that's the situation. I just don't know if that works.
I mean, yeah, and like the thing that you can go back to is that he did do well in his relief role when he was stretching back out. But the thing is that the expectations that were set on him when he was coming back, when he was having control, command issues, when he would give up a home run, when there was an issue, was to be expected because he was rehabbing from Tommy John. Now he doesn't have that crutch to lean on, you know? So if he
Right,
goes out
exactly.
there in a relief role and you're expecting to get clean innings from him all the time, that just might not happen. And, you know, we've seen, I mean, I'm not saying he's mentally soft, um, but
Oh, that's not what I was trying to say either,
no,
by
no,
the
I
way.
know. I'm just throwing that out there before, I hear back about it. I'm not saying that he's mentally soft. I wonder if he runs into problems there if it just continues to spiral, because we've seen a different person personality wise from Kopech over the last couple of years since the whole COVID season, the lockdown season, when he
By
didn't
the way, that's
pitch.
at I Eskridge
Yeah,
on X.com.
yeah. Hit me up.
The old formerly is Twitter.
Yep, hit me
Just
up.
throwing it out there.
Um, that's fine. Uh,
Hey man, you know, if we say it here, we're gonna own it. You better believe it.
yeah. So if uh Chris Getz goes out and trades both Eloy and Dylan Cease this offseason, how upset will you be at our new friend? Oh, where'd it go?
So what's going on?
Nothing. I just fix this thing. All right, there we go. How upset are you going to be with our new friend, Mr. Demon Getz?
How upset am I gonna be?
Yeah, you going to be upset that the return from the Jose Quintana trade, other than Matt Rose and Bryant Flete, who are both no longer with the White Sox organization, are
Is
you
that
going?
Flat Day? I thought it was Fleet, but anyways, go
That's
ahead.
Flete.
Okay. Am I gonna be upset? No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Okay.
No. Those trades, when we talk about if we're gonna go back to that, those trades were part of the last regime. They're no longer there's no wins and losses there anymore. To be honest with you, they didn't net the White Sox any more than one win per playoff appearance in over the last 7 years. So,
Oh, is that sad?
uh, I don't really care to even talk about those trades anymore. We can say we can use the word fleece over and over again as it was when a lot of those trades went down. When we traded away Adam Eaton and David Robinson and Chris Sale and all those guys, fleece was thrown around like nobody's business. Jose Quintana, you know, well, to me, to be honest with you, the only ones that were fleeced were the fans. We had the wool pull over our eyes. We were sold a product, and again, I'm not blaming Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams for the whole of this whole thing. Uh, Obviously the players. the coaching staff, lack thereof when it comes to coaching staff and folks behind the scenes. Uh, the hiring of a new Hall of Famer guy manager who decided that he didn't want to use the information and data that was in front of him, and thusly probably had a hand in letting go of even more of that staff. All that stuff's it's in the past. Bygones are bygones. We're starting new. I don't really care if they sell low on him right now. I'm ready to wipe the slate clean. And if Michael Kopech can net you anything in return, well, so be it. And at this point, it doesn't matter. We're gonna be in the doldrums for a while here.
You think?
You know,
Because they don't think so.
it took us. It well, you know, Josh Barfield when he talks says some really nice things. I'll say that he says things that leave me a glimmer of hope. But it's nothing more than a glimmer at this point because we've talked about it before. As everything is show me right now, is we just went through 7 years of really, really hard to watch baseball. And when it
Well,
looked like it was getting better, it got better for what seemed like, a minute, and then it got bad again. So I think we're in for, I mean, to me, there's no quick turnaround. Getting better defensively sounds fantastic. I love that idea because we've watched a team that is absolutely atrocious. Kick the ball around, throw the ball around, trip over each other, run into each other, hang off of fences and rip their arms out of the socket and jump into netting. We watch catchers with their legs falling off, pitchers with their arms falling off. It's a circus, right? When it was supposed to be so much better. So yeah, getting better defensively, fantastic. Thank you. I'm here for it. But when you're getting better defensively and you have zero pitching and not a whole lot in the offensive side of the ball, aside from Luis Robert, maybe Eloy Jimenez, maybe Yohan Kata's back is, not needing to be pinned together with, clothespins and staples and Elmer's glue, whatever it is you need to do. Maybe there's a little bit of offense. I don't know. But I just feel like there's no quick fixes, and I feel like we're in it for a while, man.
yeah. I mean, the only thing I think that you can kind of hopefully look forward to is that with that additional help from defense is that, and I mean, also go and say, you start building a team full of tryhards, is that you're going to have guys that are going to be hustling, and that's something that I don't think with what they're assembling down there. I think that you can at least look forward to guys that play hard, and you're not going to see dogging very often.
No, I'm not saying that the team won't be more interesting to watch. I feel like that is probably going to be the case. I feel like we're not. Well, here's the thing. That goes twofold. It's twofold for me. It is not. It's more than just about being tryhards. It's also about expectations being much lower than they have been. And when you curb your expectations, it's a little bit easier to kind of watch those. You know what I mean? And I think they will be interesting. But again, I don't think they're going to be a very high scoring team. And I don't think they're going to be a great pitching team. So yeah, if we get a chance to, cheer about some leather being thrown around out there, so be it. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, that was kind of this was one question I kind of had was, Chris Getz, one of the things that he's been saying is that we're going to build a defensive team so pitchers want to come and pitch here because they know that they've got a solid defense behind them. My question is, are the pitchers going to want to come and pitch here if your offense is scoring 2 runs a game?
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to get a win if you're leaving ball games, and even if you've gotten 6 innings and and I'm going to throw the air quotes up there, quality start,
A humdinger.
because you gave up less than 3 runs in 6 innings and you still can't get a win.
That's what I'm saying.
You're
I
gonna
mean,
ta-
I know
you're going to take
wins
an
aren't
L or a no decision.
wins aren't like aren't one of the stats that we generally look at.
When you're a pitcher, you are.
But as a pitcher who knows that regardless of whether his whip's good, whether his ERA's good, if he's got 5 wins and 12 losses with a 3 ERA, I mean, regardless, he's not going to have any fun, and he'd rather sign somewhere else for $500,000 less a year.
Well, not to mention, if you sign on a team that is getting you that stat, that W stat, we all know that the W stat they say is it's a team stat, right? But when you're a pitcher and you're looking to get that next contract, you don't think that comes into play in negotiations? You're sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
Sure, we are in the era of analytics where WHIP and BABIP and all those things come into play, but good luck sitting down at a negotiation and saying, "Hey, my WHIP is only 1.1,
Yeah, exactly.
and my BABIP, my BABIP is 378." But I went 5-13 last year.
Yeah.
You just knocked a few mil off your contract right there, but
Yep. All right, so I want to move on to this defensive thing that we're talking about here, and I'm going to bring up some guys here, and we'll go ahead and hash through this and see what you have to say about it.
Sure.
All right, so we have our friend Getz here, who is assembling.
That's a great picture, by the way.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too. So
Looks like he's been up all night on the Vegas Strip.
Yeah, hair all over the place, and this was a
been hanging out with Jeremy Giambi.
Yeah, this is a dugout picture too. This isn't like GM meetings, where everybody's been hurling feces at each other and getting sick. This is like I guess maybe just because he's been dealing with Jerry that might have him mussing his hair like that. All right, so the key free agent acquisition.
Yes.
Paul DeDong.
Da-dong.
So, good defensively. The bat, not ideal.
Yeah, less than mediocre.
Yes, not even worse than less than ideal. It is less than mediocre. So stop me if you've heard this before. But we have Naperville Central Zone, Naperville Nicky Lopez.
Hey, Nicky Lopez.
Figured I'd bring up a picture of him from actually when he was at Naperville Central.
Nice.
Yeah, so between those two guys, you at least defensively have a shortstop and a second baseman. Defensively, that can get the job done.
Absolutely.
The issue comes is that when you've watched this White Sox team over the last, give or take, 5-6 years now, if everybody that's supposed to be is healthy, generally they put up fairly decent numbers. But now you take Tim Anderson out of that, and obviously Nick Madrigal's gone. Elvis Andrus is now gone. Who, generally, would put up like a decent OPS plus, WRC plus, even if it was all singles from all three of those guys, more or less, at least in the last, Nick Madrigal all the time, but Tim Anderson in the last 2 years has been mostly singles, and Elvis Andrus also mostly singles. Basically you're going to get the power of Tim Anderson from a few years ago out of Paul DeDong, but you're not going to be getting those deflection singles into right field all the time out of him. So the OPS is going to be probably about the same because he hits a bunch more home runs, but he doesn't get on.
He walks.
He does walk. Okay, fine. He gets on base at least halfway decently, but the guy doesn't hit very much.
No. If you're looking for him to move runners over, you can stop looking. Unless he's hitting it out of the park,
Yeah.
in which, like you mentioned very comedically, that he did that at a clip 15 times that of Tim Anderson last year.
Yeah. Nicky Anderson, no power to Nicky Lopez, no power to speak of whatsoever. But if you
0.
get, what is it, 2018 or is it 2019? I can't remember.
I believe it was 19.
The 1 year that Nicky Lopez had where he was 114 OPS plus or WRC plus, one or the other. You got that 1 year out of Nicky Lopez, and every other year, pretty much it's been, garbage for offense. But the glove's real good, and he's good on the base paths. So, I mean, between those two guys, you at least have defensive subs for late in the game.
Yeah, I'll say that. Okay.
I mean,
and like you said, earlier in the show, we're not going to feel bad about letting prospects play when these are the two biggest names you have in your infield, or at least your middle infield, I should say. You're not going to feel bad about giving Lenyn Sosa another chance, or Popeye Rodriguez getting a real shot, or any of these guys that you can think about coming up, Romy Gonzalez, whoever it might be.
Let's go ahead and just start popping these guys out there. I don't even have one of Romy because I didn't even think to put him out because he's been injured so much. And the thing is that when he's played and had consistent at bats, he's been good.
Stud.
But the problem is keeping him healthy and keeping him out on the field.
Right.
I mean, it's been, unfortunately for him.
Sound familiar?
Yeah, I know. It's an unfortunate thing that's just been plaguing the White Sox for years now. So last year we had a real nice rookie month out of Zach Remillard. And, things slowed down as time went on. But, he does little things. He plays baseball. And, he bunts a little bit too much for quite a few people's liking, which I can concur with. And, actually, which is kind of strange, that you didn't see the power that Zach Remillard has at all in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Yeah.
It was a little weird. The one thing I do like about Zach Remillard, though, is he plays with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. You know what I mean? He's got a little bit of that spark that this team has been missing. So, in that matter, sure. And he's a little bit older than, some of your typical prospects that we would be talking about coming up. He's not Colson Montgomery where we're talking about, hey, don't rush him up because he's too young and he hasn't had enough time. Zachy Flats has had a boatload of time in the minors. And, maybe that's why he plays with that grit and that, that spark. Is he's got to find a way to make his way to a major league roster and stay there. But, you talk about tryhards earlier in the show, and that's the type of guy I think Zachy Flats is, man. Remillard is he's a tryhard. He's going to come out there and he's going to play with heart every single inning of every single game that he's a part of.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I mean, and then also, you can also throw on top of that he's a College World Series champion. The guy knows what it takes to win baseball games, and he's been part of a cohesive team structure where the team is more important than the individual, which is something that this team has had major issues with for years now, since all these prospects who are like the next coming and getting these huge contracts before even playing a single, playing in the field for a single inning, are getting these multi-million-dollar extensions because they're the next guys, and not a whole lot of hunger inspired there when you're getting everything, before you even produce any kind of results, and unfortunately that's what we've seen. I'll go by service time here. Next guy up out of these guys that I've got up here is Lenin Sosa. And we've talked about him numerous times, and the fact that he generally takes a while to get going in his new spot when he goes. And when he's moving all over the place, seems like he doesn't get comfortable. So the numbers suffer a little bit. He still had decent numbers in Charlotte, but, the absolutely crazy numbers that you saw from him in 2022, you didn't see so much in 2023 because, he's going up and down. And, between Charlotte's clubhouse and between the White Sox clubhouse, could you imagine bouncing back and forth between those two places?
Yeah, it's like I'm going from the the 34th level of hell to the 35th level back.
Yeah.
Honestly. Not to mention that his teammates in Charlotte were like, I don't know, 25 years older than him, the better part of
a
them.
few of them anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing is that I would like to see him get some run. But the thing is that when you're looking at the Gets plan here, which is glove, more or less glove first guys, Lenin Sosa does not fit that mold. He's not bad defensively, and he's got a decent arm. But is the downgrade in glove going to be made up by the upgrade in bat, or the perceived upgrade in bat from a guy that's batting 215 when Lenin Sosa hasn't done it in the major leagues yet? Now, I mean, you can make all the excuses, but bottom line, he hasn't put up
that's going to be a common thread amongst a few of the upcoming White Sox prospects, and I'm sure we'll get into that. I won't jump ahead too much.
Oh yeah, there's a couple more coming here. I only have a couple more, but then I also have one final question on this when we're done with these next couple of guys here, because I find it kind of interesting with the way things have been termed as of late. Next guy, a guy who's actually played a full game and actually gotten at bats in Major League Baseball, Braden Shoemake.
Braden Shoemake.
Again, great glove, decent contact guy, but impact with the bat has been a problem when not swinging for the fences. And when he swings for the fences, the numbers dip. He'll hit the ball hard sometimes, but the problem is that the average dips, and he really hasn't.
The mechanics kind of get wonky when
I would imagine.
Hard, I've noticed.
Yeah. So I mean, this is another guy. He kind of fits in with, at least with the top two guys in Dedong and Nicky Lopez. Is that this is a true glove first guy. And I'm sure that's probably why he was picked up, because of that very reason. I just don't know if he's gonna hit even well enough to even stick with the White Sox 26-man roster, even as a utility guy. I mean, because when you got Paul DeJong and Nicky Lopez, assuming that those are your two starters at second base and shortstop, if that is indeed the case, you would think that the guy that you're going to replace them with in a pinch hit situation should at least be able to hit.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, you're defensive replacement, and you don't really need a defensive replacement for either one of those guys. So if you can't hit, you're probably not going to see a lot of time.
Yeah, and you got a couple left-handed bats here. I know that everybody is, not everybody, but quite a people worried about the lineup being too right-handed heavy, and we needed a bunch of left-handed hitters, and now we've got a bunch of left-handed batters.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them hitters. You get
That's
some
that.
left-handed
Yes,
We got some guys that stand in that box.
yeah, I will leave that distinction somewhere else. Not with these gentlemen yet. Anyway,
Right.
so the last one that I've got here um, is a guy who the White Sox brought up and had him pinch hit. They had him play defense for an inning, but that's pretty much all he got. And he finished the season in Charlotte last year. Hit some home runs, hit 21 home runs over the year last year. After coming back from hamate surgery, plays very good defense, and that is
Bye-bye.
Jose Rodriguez, aka Popeye. I
Bye-bye.
made the executive decision to use a little bit of Photoshop on those forearms there to make him just a
Yeah.
little bit beefier.
Yeah.
But that is how he got his nickname because he's got very large, strong forearms. So uh, I have white knighted for Jose Rodriguez quite a bit in the last couple months. Um,
And he's also another one of those guys, a lot like Lenine, where he consistent playing time to find his groove, and once he kind of does, it's pretty much on for him, right?
it's historically it has been like that, yes. So I mean, I would love to see him get out there and actually get an opportunity, because if you go back to uh, the search tool on your Twitter/X app and you search from semicolon Daily White Sox Jose Rodriguez, you will find a bunch of great defensive plays from him. You'll see, some great base running. You'll see some power. You see a bunch of stuff. The only thing is that you just, is he going to even get a shot because of a perceived defensive weakness comparatively to at least these
Right. You're
guys.
two ticketed starters at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
No, I'm kind of I'm following along right there with you. But again, my statement remains the same. Yeah, we want to be the better defensively, right? It's just been it has been a ringing, absolutely ringing statement from this White Sox front office is that's our intent is to become defensively better. But at the same time, I'm not going to feel bad about stealing innings from either one of those guys. That you give an opportunity to a youngster to get his chances at the major league level. I personally don't feel bad. I don't know how the front office is going to feel about that, but you're not paying either one of these guys a ton of money, right? So this isn't one of those situations where, hey, we're paying this guy $20 million a year. We cannot have him sit on the bench and not at least try to produce. Whether or not he is producing is a whole nother story. But you get those moments where a contract sometimes defines the role that this guy's going to be in. Regardless, oh, we got to let him try to slump. Well, the slump's been going on for 5 months. But it doesn't matter because we're paying him all this money and we're not going to pay him money to get splinters in his ass. So in this case, I think you're probably right. These two guys are probably going to be your everyday starters unless we get some kind of crazy happenings here in the next few months, which I don't really foresee. Um, those are going to be your typically your everyday starters, right? So I don't know. I take it all with a grain of salt. I think that it's a shame that some of these younger guys aren't probably going to get the best opportunities in a White Sox uniform. My only concern at that point is I hope I shouldn't say concern. My only hope is that these guys do well in the minor leagues, and maybe get them some value at the trade deadline so that we can, send them somewhere else, bring something back, and they get an opportunity somewhere else. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I believe that at the very least, Lenine Sosa and Popeye Rodriguez out of the group that you've pulled up here should get an opportunity somewhere,
I
a
mean,
fair.
you would think, at least, I mean, Jose Rodriguez has seen, very minimal time at in the major leagues. I would like to see him get,
Yeah, pinch run, pinch hit,
yeah, I'd like to see him at least
defensive
get
replacement for one inning.
something, you know. Um, so with all that stuff said, and with what you know about what the White Sox want to do here, um, and this I don't think that this is going to play any part in the decision at all. I just wanted to throw it out there because I kind of found it interesting. Is that we are talking about building a defensive first club, and that we're going to field the ball, and things are going to be great. Pitchers are going to want to come here again because there'll be a defense behind them. The number one prospect in the White Sox system is a shortstop, and he is
What I
not
was getting
known
at.
as a defensive shortstop.
No, he's a bat first kind of guy.
And I will say he has improved. However, if you're looking for a Nicky Lopez type of glove, he's not there or even close to that right now. He's not bad, but Nicky
If you haven't
Lopez
figured it
is.
out, by now you've probably been living under a rock. But if you haven't figured it out by now, Ian is speaking of a one Colson Montgomery.
Yeah.
And my only thought on that, you throw that question out there, and I was alluding to that, when I brought that up. Oh, hey, buddy. So we have another appearance from my one of my besties here. That's Newton, Sir Isaac Newton.
Newton.
The yeah, he's a shepherd child mix that has an attention whore at times. So go lay down, buddy. Go on, lay down. Sorry. Anywho, when we were talking about that, and I alluded to the fact that that might be a trend during this conversation that we were going to be talking about bat first prospects. It was Colson that I had in mind when we were talking about this. And I think I actually caught a little bit of a conversation between you and White Sox Daily's Logan Hard in our little group chat there, and he had brought it up. And I got to be honest with you, I think the only thing that I can say, and that I think the White Sox organization is hoping for, is that maybe this next season, because it's obvious now that we're not going to be competing the way we thought we were going to be competing in the last couple of years. That there's no reason to rush this kid, right? We want to make sure that he gets all of the tutelage that he needs down at the lower levels before we expose him at the and I mean expose. By all means, I mean expose him at the major league level, because let's be honest, I mean the pitching is different. The speed of the game is slightly different. And there's no reason to do that to this kid. There's no reason to take a guy who is so highly rated, not just within the White Sox organization, but as overall as a prospect, and make him feel small by bringing him up too early when he's not ready. So with the new focus on defense in the White Sox organization, and some of the new hires that we've been kind of hearing about, and the additional hands that will be part of the organization, because this isn't just about bringing in new coaches to replace the old coaches. This is about bringing in staff to add numbers to the coaching staff, right? There are going to be more bodies in place from what we are being told, and we're here to understand whether or not that comes to fruition. You know, some of it's kind of already started to happen, but we're kind of hoping for maybe some more in the future. Uh, maybe. that will allow for him to spend more time working and focusing on the defense without losing sight of the bat, right? So maybe another year down there, maybe, and like you said, he has been improving. Maybe he continues to improve. But if he doesn't, then what?
That's exactly my point. Is, I haven't heard anybody mention this yet, and I don't think that. And I just want to throw this out there. I'm not saying that they're going to trade him or anything like that. I'm just sitting here thinking to myself when I'm thinking of this defensive first mantra that they've been talking about, and thinking that, well, okay, but what about Colson Montgomery? Are you telling me that you're going to move him to left field because he doesn't play shortstop like Nicky Lopez does or like Paul DeJong does? Is that what we're talking about? I mean, is that really what we're talking about here?
Well, I mean, for a shortstop, he's actually on the bigger size, right?
Yeah, he's
Tall compared
dude.
to most shortstops.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. We don't want you to catch. We want you to play first base. First base. I've never played first base before.
It's easy.
It's easy.
Don't
Tell him
worry
Wash.
about it.
Tell him Wash. It's extremely difficult. I don't know. I mean, the White Sox. Well, third base.
Yeah, I've heard this. I've heard this in multiple places as well. And James Hesterman, if you're listening to the stream or listening to the podcast instead of watching us on the stream on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, says Colson third base, and I don't think that we're looking at. I think that most of the time when you move somebody to third base, it's out of necessity because they can't play shortstop. And I don't necessarily think that Colson Montgomery doesn't have the tool set to play shortstop. I think he does. His lateral quickness is great. He's got a good arm. And his range, I mean, if you look it up sometime on our Twitter account, you can find all sorts of, video of him making plays in the outfield and, running all the way to the third baseline and, making great throws across the diamond to get guys. I mean, I think he does have the skill set. I think this is literally just something that is there are going to be growing pains. And I think that when you draft a kid out of high school, that you should expect that there are going to be these growing pains, unless you are drafting a guy that is like a wizard with the glove. But then most of the time when you draft that guy, that there are deficiencies with the bat. But the thing is with Colson Montgomery, the deficiencies with the bat, I think will work themselves out, with just a little bit of time.
Age and experience. Right, exactly.
I think the shortstop thing's the same thing, because I don't think it's the physical tools that aren't there for him to be able to do it. So it was just something that crossed my mind. And I don't think that anything's real. I personally, I think he's sticking at shortstop.
I do too.
But, they could move him somewhere else. I just happen to find it very interesting as he is the 17th ranked prospect in baseball, and he's a shortstop. But then here we are talking about going heavy on defense and signing guys like, Paul DeJong and trading for Nicky Lopez and Braden Shoemake, who are glove first guys, and there's no doubt about that. Yes, immediately this year, the defense will be better. But after that, who knows who's going to be here, who's not going to be here. But, I mean, it's just you sit here and preach about defense first. All these guys are like one-year deals, and they can walk next year. So, like, you can sit here and talk about defense first all you want, but the second that Colson Montgomery's ready and shows with the bat that he can come up here and, say he's going to hit 30 home runs, and you can get 30 home runs out of the shortstop position, you're telling me that you're going to keep Paul DeJong you're going to re-sign Paul DeJong for another year and move Colson Montgomery
because he's got a glove.
yeah, because he's going to make a couple extra errors. I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah, no. Chances are, I'm with you. I just had to throw it out there because obviously that I felt like that was where this was going. The question is, what happens if he does not improve? What then?
Well, I mean, he
What then?
has. He has.
And he
So
has. So there's reason to believe that will continue, right? And
I would hope.
age, yes, he was slightly older than the average graduating senior. Okay, whatever.
He wasn't a college
know,
graduate. It's not like you're getting a 24-year-old
right,
or 23-year-old.
right. He was still extremely young, and he's still got plenty of room to grow. So, we all hope that he turns out to be, at least average defender, right? If you can go out there and if you can get me 0 DRS and hit 30 dingers, I will be more than happy to have you on a major league roster all day, every day, right? You give me a WRC plus or an OPS plus of 115, 120 season in and season out or better even with his skill set with the bat, sky's the limit. But you just hope that he can be at least an average defender.
Yep.
And maybe that'll come to fruition. Maybe it won't. I don't know. If it doesn't, maybe you find him another position on the field.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I just don't think that it's time for that yet, personally.
He's a big boy, and he's got a great arm. Right field is still a place of need for this White Sox team. You know what I'm saying?
It is, unfortunately.
So,
anywho,
let's just move on.
So next week, as I mentioned earlier, we will be looking at the winter meetings, and hopefully some interesting stuff comes from the winter meetings for the White Sox. Hopefully, it's somewhat eventful. I can't say that I would necessarily be cheering if the White Sox go out there and trade away Eloy and Dylan Cease. I can't say that I'd be happy that those two guys are gone. However, I get it. I'd understand. I don't know. We'll see.
No, they provided us with some excitement over the last couple of years. It would be, would be a tough pill to swallow. But
yep.
At the end of the day, something's got to change. So I wouldn't be, extremely upset about any of it.
Yep.
But that remains. I guess that also hinges on the return and how I feel about any of that. Yep. But who am I? I'm just some dude sitting behind a computer with a in his face.
Yep. Yep. We're just two random bozos sitting behind cameras. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully it gives us at least something interesting to talk about, and I'm sure it will. I'm sure there'll at least be something interesting to talk about, even if it's talking about how the other teams in the division are getting, better as we stand pat and watch.
Oh, that's the. See, you just gave me that odd because I know it's going to happen, but didn't want to really think about it much.
Well, as I brought up earlier, the Tigers signed Maeda. I will say that the Twins have their pitching's gotten a little bit worse, losing Sonny Gray and Kenta Maeda. And
yeah, you know what though? Can't that Kenta Maeda guy go somewhere else in the division? Because that guy, he could suck on whatever team he's on and come in and kill the White Sox over and over and over again.
I mean, they've put in their damage on him as well, from what I remember. But I mean, I'm not sad. I just know that it's an upgrade for the Tigers. That's all.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, and it is a downgrade for the Twins pitching has taken a hit so far this offseason. So, which, hey, all good.
Yeah.
But we'll see next week. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, there's some big time interest stories, and we'll see what happens. At Daily White Sox on Twitter, you can find us there. You can find this podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts. Also at whitesoxdaily.substack.com. You can find the stream here on our YouTube page. You can also find it on our Facebook page. and hopefully we'll have something fun to talk about next week. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys have a great night, and we will hopefully catch you guys next week with something